Hey there, welcome back to Tim Talks Cooking. Today we are talking, get ready for this, you're going to love it. We are talking keto pepperoni pizza biscuits a la KitchenQueers. And thanks guys, hi Mitch, hi Phil, for coming up with this great recipe. I'm going to do a low carb version of it. And before I get started with that, I need to mention two other YouTube cooks who really contributed to this recipe. The first one is Cooking Keto with Kristie. She has a great channel, and you can really learn a lot from her. She does a lot of actually kind of complicated things. She bakes a lot, and she's a really good point of reference if you're trying to adapt your favorite recipes to the keto diet. The other person who I'm indebted to here for this video is the guy from Highfaltin Locarb, who also has a really great channel, super useful if you're on this diet and you're cooking, and here's why. He often compares different keto products, whether they're commercial products or things that you make yourself from scratch in the kitchen. And the one that really helped me with this recipe today was the one he did on comparing Southern biscuit recipes. And as a Southerner, that is, he's a Southerner, I have to trust his judgment on that pretty much. And I'll tell you what, he's right. And this biscuit recipe is really delicious and works really well with this recipe. Let's get started. This is what you'll need to make these incredible biscuits. You'll need a half a cup of oat fiber, a third of a cup of almond flour. This is unbleached. You could use bleached if you like. A tablespoon of erythritol or some other sweetener that you prefer. Here we've got a half a teaspoon of kosher salt and a teaspoon of baking powder, 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter, 1 large egg, and you're also going to need a cup of shredded mozzarella cheese and 2 ounces of cream cheese. And what we're going to do to get this recipe started here is we're going to melt these cheeses together gently in the microwave. I'm going to do this in about 15 to 30 second bursts until it's nice and melted. I'm also going to mix together our dry ingredients. Here's the oat fiber. You notice it's very powdery. It has a very fine texture to it. That's going to give these a really great mouthfeel. The almond flour. In fact, let's get all of that in there. A little bit wanted to stick to the bottom for some reason. There's our sweetener, the leavening, and the salt. And we're just going to blend that together with a fork real quick. I'm going to make sure that these get distributed evenly throughout the dough that we're about to make. And there you go. Nothing to it. Let's get back to our cheeses. This is what it looks like after 30 seconds in my microwave, and you can see it's pretty much melted. We need to do it again here because we want to blend these together real smoothly. We're also going to add the butter to that when they're ready to do that. I'm going to put them in for about another 15 seconds, and then we'll try it again. And here we have it after just a little bit more time. You can see it's much easier to blend together smoothly. And you may notice if you've been cooking keto for a while, this is like making a fathead dough, right? We're going to add an egg to this, but we're also going to add some other stuff to it. Here I've got 3 tablespoons of butter here. I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to stick it back in the microwave for another 15 to 20 seconds. As you can see, our butter is now melted, and we're not really going to be able to incorporate that fully into this. That's okay. Next, we need to add our egg. And just to make sure we don't get any shell in there that we have to pick out or anything, I'm going to break it into a little custard cup first. And then we're just going to add it right in there. Beat that into our mixture. It's going to structure our biscuits here. Now, in the next step, this is, making a fathead dough like this is always a little worrisome at first. You think, oh, it's never going to come together. These ingredients are not going to combine. Oh, yes, they will. Trust me. That's really probably about good enough. Now we're going to add in our dry ingredients. And I'm going to start with my fork, but really, doing this like with any biscuit dough, it's really better to do it with your hands. So let's just get it a little bit incorporated here. I'm thinking that oat fiber is so powdery that it'll be easier to do it this way. Now I'm just going to use my hands to finish mixing this up into a nice dough that we can divide to put in our muffin tins for these cute little pizza treats. I think I'm going to bring this out on the board too and just give it a knead or two. Knead it just a little bit, just like any other dough. This is the best way really to get the ingredients to combine. Because what we don't want here are pockets where it's all cheese and none of the flours that we've used, the flour and the oat fiber. And there you have it. Beautiful little biscuit dough. Let's divide this up. Dividing our dough into 12 more or less equal pieces is pretty easy. I'm just going to cut it in half to start off with. Then I'm going to cut the half in half. Cut each of these into thirds. You could use a knife if you don't have a bench scraper. We can of course divide them a little differently. If you've got one that's bigger than another, I think that one's going to be pretty big. Stick that on there. Anyway, this dough is really easy to work with. I'm going to use a little bit of this one for this little guy over here. Let's get him in our cups. I'm going to start by rolling each of our pieces into a little ball and filling each of the cups with them. By the way, this is a silicone muffin pan. I think it's really great. Nothing sticks to it. It's really easy to get them out, and they're just perfect that way. I find if I use a metal tin, sometimes things stick to the bottom, even if I grease or butter them really thoroughly. Here you can see this guy's a little bigger than me, is he? Yeah, I'll probably take that off there and use him somewhere else a little bit. And we can even things up. They don't have to be perfect. This is going to be a little rustic anyway, like most of the dishes that come out of my kitchen. Nothing to it. As you see, this is really easy. Now, to prepare each of these for the other ingredients for our toppings, we're going to push this down in here. We're going to push it up the sides a little bit. We're making a little cup out of each one, a little biscuit cup. You can see there's really nothing to it. And again, doesn't have to be perfect. You just want the sides to come up a little bit so it'll hold the fillings in nicely. And I'm going to continue doing this with the rest of them, and then we'll get to our filling. And there we have it. Now I'm going to preheat my oven to 350 degrees, and let's get started on the filling. Here are the toppings I'm going to use for this recipe. You can of course use any toppings that you like. You can use any sauce, whatever. This is just what I'm using. This is a quart, and you won't need that much of course, of my best ever keto pizza sauce. You can find the recipe right here on this channel. Super easy, no cooking involved. Throw it together and use it in a recipe where you cook the sauce with the rest of the ingredients. It's delicious. I also have here some diced red bell pepper. I've got some, just like in the Mitch in the KitchenQueers video, I've got some pepperoni that I've cut into quarters. These are slices of pepperoni cut into quarters. They'll fit in the muffin cups better. I've also got some chopped spinach here. This is just chopped fresh spinach. I'm going to put a little bit in each cup, and you'll see what they look like when I get them done. Okay, so now we've got our silicone mold already. I put it on a half sheet pan just so it'll be easier to get in and out of the oven. You can see this dough is pretty easy to work with. If it slides down, you can just push it back up. Nothing to it. Okay, here's how we're going to fill these. We're going to start by using a tablespoon of our sauce. A tablespoon or so. Let's see how that works in there. There we go. And now the rest of the toppings. We're not going to overload these with toppings. We're just going to put a little in each. These are tiny little pizzas, so we don't want to really overdo it. Again, we're going to end up with a mess if we do that. I'm going to say probably about 3 of those per cup will work. And the leftover toppings we'll just use in a salad. While I'm filling these cups, I'm preheating my oven to 350 degrees, and we're going to bake them in there for about 40 minutes, I think. We're going to check them in about 20 and see how they do. Here's what they look like after about 20 minutes in my oven. I want them to be nice and browned on the top, and so I'm going to give these another 5 to 10 minutes. And here's what they look like after 40 minutes in the oven at 350. I think that's pretty good. We've got some nice color here. The ones in the middle could maybe use it, but that's still very nice. And it looks to me like the biscuits, nice and done. I think it's time for a taste. Before I taste this though, let's have a closer look at just how it turned out. You can see it's nicely browned, holding together really well. Look how beautifully browned it is on the bottom. That's just lovely. This is like a little pizza cupcake in a keto biscuit cup. Let's cut it in half and see what it looks like on the inside. I'm gonna make a mess of it, that's all right. And there we go, and you can see it's just like a little pizza. It's beautiful, little deep dish pizza. Love it! Well, I'll tell you, I couldn't be happier with how these turned out. Really just gorgeous. And look at this nice tray of beautiful snacks to serve to guests or to eat up all by. No, you don't want to eat them all by yourself. Remember, you're counting calories. Let's give this a taste here because this really looks just delicious. Very nice. Really delicious. The biscuit is chewy, kind of fluffy. It's really excellent. The inside is very nice. It's a pizza filling, you know, it's always lovely. You know what this reminds me of? Totino's pizza rolls, the supreme ones. Really good. Anyway, wow, that's a flavor I haven't had for a while since I've been on keto. Anyway, I really hope you'll try these. These are just wonderful little treats. And while you're here, don't forget to subscribe and comment, like, and share on social media. Thanks for joining us today on Tim Talks. We'll catch you next time.